Hello, welcome back, my royal family. This is Coach Adasa, and welcome back to Grid Holistic Living, where we say whole health, whole life, whole you. This is my handsome nephew Beagle Cash as we resume our trails and tales for the new month, soon to be new season, and of course, new year indeed. And here at Grid Holistic Living, we apply a 360 approach because you're not one third man nor two-third, you're three-thirds or whole man. What constitutes a man? Well, we're looking at the soul or the body. And when you pass, you return to dust. That's the soul. The soul is the body. And then you have the breath of life from your creator. That's the spirit man. And what makes you shift and think and do what a man thinketh, so is he. But of course, then you have the physical man, free of disease. We were meant to live in an oasis, the Garden of Eden, indeed. And if you look at Genesis 1, verses 11 and 12, it talks about the herbs and trees and grass where we should be consuming. Eventually, man left a more vegetarian diet to a more carnivorous diet. And that's okay if you could find good, healthy foods and meats and seafood to which to eat from. And of course, the focus is on clean meats indeed. So it's with that understanding we approach grid holistic living. It's about speaking about the topics individuals may not want to address because it might be challenging, or we might have been provided with alternate facts. And this is all about standing on truth at all times. Family, in episode number 1, we presented to Generation X, which I am. And episode 2, we're going to do a case study on Generation Z. And we have two individuals, Gideon and Gabriella. In this episode, episode 2, we're going to put a lens on the female Generation Z, which is Gabriella, indeed. And we're going to provide you with 4 ways, really quick and easy, to detox and heal. So you definitely want to become part of this holistic family. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button, please do so. And to find out the full 4 ways to detox and heal, really in any generation, but we're going to put a lens on Generation Z. Please be sure to like, share, fan out. Send to your children, send to your bestie, family members, etc. So, in applying the 360 method, the 3 domains, again, the spirit man, mental, emotional man, and physical man is worth saying again. And here, the grid approach, we do apply 4 principles where we are grounded in faith, renewed in mind, intentional, and discipline. To get down into the details based on the script here, please be sure to review episode 1 indeed, where we broke that down further. And a couple of don'ts. We recommend that you don't hold back. This is the time to be free as a bird so you can relate and release. Don't worry about feeling awkward or talking to yourself, which can be part of self-reflection. It's very healthy. And don't stay away for long. We know life happens, whether professionally or personally. And if you do leave this podcast, keep your subscription. And I promise when you return, our lights will still be on for you. Absolutely. Once you're a member of the Grid Holistic family, you stay a member indeed. And for that, we thank you. So, a little bit of a recap. Episode 1, we put the spotlight on Generation X, and it was a What Now, Greg and Grace. In the month of March, we were marching for Greg and Grace. Everyone has a moment in time in life because life is a journey. And we ask the question, what now? Right? And you may remember when you were a kid and your parents were taking you to a very long trip and you're in the bus or you might be in the car and you're saying, are we there yet? That's similar to what's now. But we encourage you and we say, not necessarily what now, that you got next, regardless of your age, as long as you have the breath of life and you have a purpose, and you do because you were created by your creator with a purpose. Find out what that purpose is, and certainly you got next. Now, on to episode 2, when we say Gen Z reset 4 ways to detox and heal. Our case studies indeed Gideon and Gabriella. Episode 1, we're going to feature Gabriella. And according to Gen Z, I'm not lost, I'm decluttering my path. And here we have to the left Gideon with his friends at a World Wrestling Federation match, as well as to your right, you have Gabrielle and her friends doing what they love best, getting fresh air, exercising, laughing, and justing indeed. Here we are again, Gideon and Gabriella, both concentrating different paths, different ways of doing things. Gideon is releasing in the gym, while Gabriella seems very pensive, looking at her vision board indeed. And a little bit about Gabriella is very important to highlight her in terms of our case study. As a former healthcare executive, when physician trainees or students are trained to present a patient to their attendings or supervisor, it's done in terms of kind of like a case study. So in this case, we're going to feature some of the individuals as a case study. If by chance this may sound familiar to you, it should, but it's very general indeed because it really applies to everyone. Let's consider Gabriella's journey. She's a 26-year-old graduate and she's currently a pharmaceutical representative. Her relationship status is complicated. We've all seen that. At work, her energy is depleted by toxic work environment, all competition and no collaboration. She loves to travel, so that for her is a freedom. She has friends, and whether she knows it or not, with the volume, there might also be frenemies lurking. She's consumed bills, student loans, as most students. If we remember our former president and his beautiful wife, Michelle and Barack Obama, even at the age of 40 something with both law degrees, they both still had student loans. So you're not alone. Then you have the next chapters. A question we all ask, what's next? For her, it might be medical school or whether she's going to accept Gideon's proposal. And she knows that she feels happiest when she travels and explore the world, meet new people and culture indeed. So indeed, she's at a phase. What's next? So looking at personally and professionally, I highlighted again, the goal is to remove waste. And this episode is to kind of give you a glimpse of what she might be doing and thinking and what she could apply as the grid holistic solution. So here we have some of Gabriella's antics, her behavior, her value and norms that she believes is okay, that very well might be affecting her decision making. So part of that might be her 2 a.m. scrolling, um, frenemies versus friends, and part of the frenemies, they're not necessarily going to give you the best advice. So this is where you need to practice discernment. Finding Mr. Right versus Mr. Right now. Um, then based on a busy schedule, she's always on the go, so she doesn't have time for real nutrients and she's too busy to spend time in a word. The word is what's going to give her discernment to know right from wrong, left to right, frenemies versus friends. The more you consume the word, the easier your path, your journey. Now, to the right, professionally, you have she's anxious about job performance, competition versus collaboration, the toxic work environment that is created and fostered by the supervisor or manager. And in that way, the supervisor or manager comes out looking like a bed of roses. And of course, you have the pressure of paying bills timely, keeping up in terms of that credit score and of all the isms that's part of the workplace. So the question is, am I behind or just overwhelmed? That's maybe one of the questions, if not the main question Gabriella has. So let's see if we can provide her with grid solutions. Simple, to the point. Here we go. Well, we know our here at Grid Holistic Living, we say Gen Z reset, 4 ways to detox and heal. You have to remove the waste, gain your nutrients, move, and pursue peace. And to the right in red, you will see some of the language that's might be familiar with Gen Z. But here's a beautiful picture of Gabriella. She is looking at her time as she waits for her client, that is Dr. Samuel, to come out. A very busy schedule and like some Gen Z, impatient indeed. Let's consider Gabriella. and what she needs to do. She certainly needs to get her nutrients, and she could gain her nutrients by simply focusing on the spirit man, right? As I stated at the beginning, we are spirit, mental, and we have the physical body. The spirit man needs to receive spiritual food. The spiritual food is what is going to give us nutrients to practice discernment and to navigate successfully a toxic life. Then we consider the nutrients, what's needed for the emotional man. Um, Surrounding yourself with healthy relationships as opposed to toxic relationships. Even though some individuals might be drawn to toxicity based on their home environment, if that's you, if you're at an age, you can get you can get out of that toxic family relationship and understand your role, your part, who the players are, get counseling, get a coach, and navigate accordingly. Now, we're not saying to block your family because you only have one family, but you have to look at the situation objectively if you can. If you're not at that stage, you certainly want to get um, counseling or coaching to facilitate. And then, of course, the physical man, you have to practice patience. We're living in a world and age and time where everything must happen in a microwave second, and it's like ASAP. No one wants to wait a second or a minute. And the reality is, you have to. Everything happens in due time. Ecclesiastes 3 tells us that everything there is a season. So there's a time essence to everything. And here you have Gabriella looking at her phone, and it's 3 a.m. No wonder she's exhausted. How many of you can relate to that, right? And the concept of moving. You have the physical man needs to exercise, release stress. Um, Physical exercise can be used to release the peer pressure, emotional pressure, and it certainly helps you feel better and sleep better. A couple of tips. It's important to remove all Bluetooth from your Oasis or your bedroom or unplug them. Technology was created to emit various levels of electromagnetic waves, etc., that can keep you awake and keep you wired. And even after you put away your phone, it takes you about 30 or 45 minutes to finally fall asleep. Then we want to consider the emotional man. If you want to do something in bed, you're better off reading or listening to music. And that could also help soothe the spiritual man. Soft music or biblical verses to help you fall asleep. And here's a picture of Gabriella with her friends. She doesn't look too happy. Here's one of her friends side-eyeing her, and the other friend that's smiling, thinking it's funny. Well, is that you? Can you relate? So, when it comes to friendships versus frenemies, authenticity is important. In order to remove waste and detox, that also means in your relationships, all levels, you want high valued friends versus frenemies. Value over volume, that means 2 over 22, 1 over 21, and then 0 over 100. That is what's going to give you sanity. And of course, authenticity versus fake life is very important. And at the end of the day, what we're going to consider is Gabriella's journey to I Got Next. If she were to take those steps, certainly she'll be well on her way. The growth shift phrase here is validation that will move and shift into alignment. So, grid holistic solution, when we look at Gen Z Reset, 4 ways to detox and heal, Gabriella's grid reset solution. Remove, that is protect her circle. So that's removal of waste. Nourish the spirit, nourish the spirit and the physical man. So that seek wisdom and mentorship as well, and eat the right foods, of course. You want to move, that will allow you to release all levels of stress through activity. So you certainly want to pursue peace, stop competing, and start collaborating and aligning indeed. And then remember, you're not lost. Generation Z, and I say this with love, you're navigating pressures that previous generations didn't face at this scale. And that is largely a result of two things: technology, the proliferation of technology, And if you're a man or woman of faith, you have to know we're in prophetic times. So it's about getting your spiritual houses in order. The goal isn't perfection, it's alignment, because you've got next. So, which one of Gabriella's struggles do you relate to if you're Generation Z? And even if you're not Generation Z, do you know Generation Z that might be able to relate to this message and any one of these stressors? So please be sure to refer them to this platform. Please be sure to refer them to this presentation and have them begin the reflective process. This is Great Holistic Living, watching for Gideon and Gabriella. Generation Z Spotlight is Gen Z Reset. We spotlight a case study on Gabriella, a 26-year-old, and there are 4 ways to certainly detox and heal thyself. And it's not about it's over or next chapter, is I got next. And that concludes episode number 2 here at Great Holistic Living. We thank you for listening. Until the next time, be well, be good to yourself and each other.